the brand is bigger than the music.
Yeah.
That's a thing I didn't know.
Yeah, you could
That's a
be.
thing I didn't know until perform.
You could be so diverse and dynamic in that. Oh, you know what? I'm this multidisciplinary artist. I'm not just the music. I'm activism. I am fashion. I am ideas. I am events. I am all that. So these are the touch points in which like you can use to sort of like elaborate your message and your tone and your vibe and your sort of like brand language, you know, because there's brand language as
100%.
well, you know?
Yeah. Hello, welcome to perFORM Music Incubator Podcast. My name is Muthoni Drummer Queen, and I'm excited today to spend some time learning, sharing, discovering, upskilling, and just becoming, you know, a better artist, a more successful artist. Joining me today is Alfayo Onyango, a great public relations practitioner here in Nairobi, and we'll be delving into all things PR for artists. Like, what is the difference between PR and marketing? How can you leverage PR to actually like get your voice heard in the media? What does it look like when you're dealing with a crisis? For this and so much more, karibuni sana to our pod. Hi, Alfayo.
Hey, Muthoni, how
How
are
you
you?
doing?
I'm great.
I hope this feels good and you're relaxed.
Yeah. It's very dope. Good atmosphere.
Fantastic.
There's a calm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the morning today is just chilled.
Very good.
Yeah, and I'm just glad to be here just to, you know, share a lot, kick it,
Fantastic.
and just talk, you know,
Perfect.
about PR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe you could start there.
Yeah.
Who are you? What do you do? What is your company? How did you end up in PR?
Yeah, I think that question is very like, it's common,
Yeah.
but I have to keep reminding myself who I am, you
Yeah.
know, because PR keeps evolving.
Yeah.
You know, who I am, I'm just a liver of life.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm just a person in this big universe of a lot of happenings.
Yeah.
I'm just a speck
Yeah.
in this universe. I'm just
Yeah.
living, just
Yeah.
going through it and
Yeah.
enjoying my time here, breathing, being awesome.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm just a chill guy in
Yeah.
essence. But what I do is PR, where I find myself now sort of like drawing lines as to who I am in the professional space.
Yeah.
Is I'm a publicist
Yeah.
by profession. But I didn't exactly start as a publicist.
Right.
You know, I trained in media and communications, so it's a lot of comms.
Yeah.
You know, sharing messages to a wide audience, a mass audience. We call it like heterogeneous, which is like a diverse audience. And then slowly, I got my footing off in writing. You know, started in People Daily as an intern, just learning my craft there. That's where you sort of like just get thrown into the
Right.
journalism world,
Yeah.
and then you have to like chart your way out of that.
Yeah.
Then slowly evolved, grew into a writer now, like a features writer.
Right.
Then moved on to editor
Right.
in the Standard. You know,
Right.
people starting to see you now.
Yeah.
You're getting heard. Your voice is starting to sort of be projected out there, and opportunities came along with that. Then slowly, I found myself becoming a publicist. After working with all these artists and writing stories about artists, I sort of like realized that, you know, this thing is not just about sharing a story or a narrative or an agenda, sometimes in a very like low tier or low frequency way. But like, it's more of, you know, you can be a thought leader. You can be a sort of someone who shapes narrative, sort of someone who is a tastemaker and give people an idea and drive emotions, drive change, drive impact. So I sort of got interested in that, and how can I help artists sort of deliver what they want to a mass audience. And from journalism, I sort of like found myself pivoting into public relations and helping artists discover how to shape their voice.
Yeah. And you've worked with some really cool artists already in Kenya.
Yeah.
I know you've done some work with Groovy Joe, you've done some work with Brooklyn Boys.
Yeah.
So, I think maybe that's a really good place to start the conversation today, which is, what is publicity? What is PR? A lot of times I think, even for myself, it took me a long time before I figured kind of like, hey, publicity and marketing, these are not the same thing. And publicity is kind of like always ongoing, and it's not just something you do when you have like a record that you want to promote. So maybe that's a great place to start, kind of. What is publicity? Why do we need it as artists? What's PR?
Yeah. I feel like PR and marketing are like distant cousins, or they're sort of like related in one way. Like it's sort of like they're very symbiotic. You can't have PR without marketing,
right?
And you can't have marketing without PR to some sense, know. So PR to me, though there's like scholars who've done their whole theories and given you what the definition is in an objective sense, but for me, PR is sort of public relations, finding groups of people, we call them like groups of publics, and sort of like making a message to a specific public. A public can be like, okay, today my public is, I want to talk to bankers or music fans. That's a group of people. It's a public, So it's how you sort of like define a message and how you use the media to spread that message, to a specific public. Like artists, for example, want to speak to an audience, and you can't get the same sort of like audience in two different mediums, Like today we have like podcasting, for example, which we're sort of like doing now. There's podcasts like, for example, let's say shout out to Kina Chaxi. Shout out to Chaxi guys who have Mic Check podcast. Their audience varies from, say, a podcast by a VIP Access podcast by Anyiko. Anyiko's podcast and her audience is very unique to Chaxi's podcast. So as the publicist, you have to sort of like understand the things that make them different. How the audience sort of differ. Who's the demographic, and then how do you like shape your messages and your ideas to the specific audiences on the different podcasts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then marketing to me is just like creating awareness, It's that there's the above the line marketing, and then there's below the line. Above the line is more like, it's very directed towards like a mass audience. It's not coming to you directly. Like a billboard is above the line, seeing something in the newspaper, it's above the line. You can't track the data or see how many.
Hearing something on radio.
Yeah, hearing something on radio, on
Watching
TV.
it on TV,
yeah,
right.
That's above the line stuff, right? Or even having someone on the road upper, Kwanduthi, and he's wearing the sort of like reflector jacket.
Right.
And
that's branded.
Yeah, and it's branded. That's above the line.
Yeah.
You don't know how many people have seen that or been exposed to that. Below the line is now coming directly to you. It's sort of like this digital form of marketing where like I can get insights back. I can see the traffic. I can see the engagements. And so it's coming directly to me. It's on my phone. When I open my phone, it's here. And I feel like the world is sort of like divulged into that form of marketing where it's now very directed to you. It's coming to you. So social media is a good form of below the line marketing. When you're at like events per se, like shout out to Blankets, like, you can track how many people have come to sort of like your vendor and whatnot, right? So, marketing is just how you sort of like create that awareness of whatever you have, a product, a campaign, a message, a new song, Your EP.
Indeed.
Yeah.
In fact, I think just to build upon what you've just said there, it's so I'm also a student of the Incubator.
Yeah, shout out to
I think the Incubator is where this distinction was really made for me. Like this tactical stuff we do when like there's a song out and you're running like a campaign, or there's an EP on the way, or you're campaigning some merchandise, or, you know, we're campaigning an edition of the festival. That's really marketing, because what you're really doing is you're looking to convert. You're saying, hey, buy my thing.
Yes.
So, you know, when we're saying stream my thing, it's like really I'm looking for the sale, right? I'm saying buy this thing.
Yeah.
This thing is the greatest. You know, you're the one speaking on behalf of your thing and how it's greatest. But, you know, publicity is really like long view, and it's long term because it's like reputation building. And there are some times when, you know, like a release can be a trigger for you to do a publicity
sort of thing
campaign. But in and of itself, that's not publicity. Publicity is kind of this long-term brand reputation.
Almost day to day.
Building. Exactly, right? And that's when I started to catch it. I was like, oh, that's why politicians are always in the media. It's like they're always sort of like keeping their name, their place, you know. If they give away like one tank of water, they have to have all the media there, because it's like it's permanently putting the name, the face, the whatever that brand stands for.
The manifesto, all that, what they stand for, their values.
Permanently in the face of the user. And we are the user, I mean, in terms of politicians, like we're the ones who are electing, we're the electorate. So they're always trying to talk to an electorate. And I was like, oh, right. So like publicity is like long game.
Yes.
And marketing is very tactical. It's for a certain thing that you want to jump off for a, you know, sort of a certain window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That distinction is important because publicity is sort of like, you know, you have to keep it's recurrent.
Yeah.
You know, you have to keep reassuring people of your product or your idea or who you are, reminding them. Yeah. So it's like reassuring, it's reminding, reaffirming, educating, entertaining even, you know. So it's like today we have things like content calendars, you know. And you have set out like action points as to what are we doing every day, you know, because today we have like social media. It's a medium, very strong medium, and people are accessing this thing killer siku every day. Gen Z on TikTok, millennials want to get like stuff on news outlets, and you have your own. You're a medium. You're a medium yourself, right? So you have to always remember that I have to share something with the people who care about me, my art, my product, my ideas. So that constant sort of like activity of every day, I think you need to have strategy as to how you go about this, because, you know, it's very, very taxing in the sense that you have to be plugged on every day.
Yeah, but I also find I've found that it's become much easier to appreciate that work building off a brand strat, right? A brand strategy.
Yes.
So at perFORM, for example, for the first time, we did like brand strategies in last year's cohort, 2023.
Dope.
And I thought like, I don't know what I thought a brand strategy was. But like, bro, it took us 3 months to build like each artist like brand strategy and like really having clear definitions of the brand, and now understanding, oh, this is not a thing that's going to change tomorrow. A brand is like climate; it's a long game, and your publicity outcomes are always tied with your brand strategy, the way you want to position this brand, the thing you want people to think and feel, and how this brand responds. It's a very long, you know, sort of like, I don't know, Sir Richard Branson, for example, like his brand is that kind of like crazy entrepreneur, do it yourself, take risks, and that's not a thing that he's going to change. Now it's not going to reach like after 20 years. It's like, okay, now I'm not longer that guy. Now I'm the, you know,
You almost like, I think when artists should also like have that sort of like idealism of, yo, I'm a brand. First of all, that realization, that recognition of, yo, I'm a brand. Then what helps now is coming in with the immediate plan, near future plan, and long term. You're thinking of it like an overview thing from end to end, you know, like what I do now will
Yeah.
affect my brand
Yeah.
10 years down the line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every
yeah.
decision counts,
Yeah.
and you have to have that brand consistency all through.
Yeah.
That brand image
Yeah.
all through.
Yeah.
That brand tone.
Yeah.
That brand attitude.
Yeah.
Like Sir Richard Branson.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm uplifting you guys.
Yeah.
I want you guys to
Yeah.
chase your dreams.
Yeah.
An aspirational brand.
Yeah.
You know, this
Yeah.
is how I did it. He can't even afford to sort of like deviate from
Yeah.
his message.
But then also, if
Yeah.
it's for real, there's
Yes.
no need to deviate. That's the other piece that we kind of like really like locked for me, you know, last year.
Yes.
It's like once you land your brand, it's your truth. So there's no
Yes.
deviation from your
Facts,
truth. It's just like
facts.
that's your truth, is your truth, is your truth, is your truth.
Yes.
You can only have like seasons of your truth, but the thing itself is not changing, right? It's like that's the standard.
Yeah.
So then, you know, to segue from that, you know, one of the things I realized is then, I didn't then know what publicity was for. Because then my approach to
Right.
publicity was always kind of like around a product campaign. So we have a new song, we have a new album, we
Yeah.
have a tour, we have a show, you know.
Yeah.
So then you're kind of like going to get like some media or some, you know, campaigning around this thing.
Yes, yes.
And then feeling frustrated, it's like, but I did all this media, I've gone to all these places, and like, how come it's not having an impact on
The ROI
the
is
product?
not, yeah.
Exactly. Or
Yeah.
the moving of the product. Why don't I have the streams that I want? You
Yeah.
know, that's something quite common in the music. We
In the
never
music,
want, we're like, why am I
yes,
going to the
yes.
media? And then what's going to happen? They're not even,
Yes.
it's not even playing. The music is not even playing.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that, you know, we kind of really landed was exactly what you're saying earlier, is that the publicity is going to
Yeah.
give you that visibility, that presence of mind,
Yeah.
but you've got to cash in on that publicity with your marketing tactical. So then if you've done that
Yeah.
media thing, it's
Yeah.
like, what is the marketing outcome? But the two things are not, marketing outcomes are not publicity outcomes. Do you, would you like to build
it's
upon
big
that?
facts. Yeah, I think, exactly. With artists especially, you find artists sort of like rushing to do stuff around when they have something to sell. You know, like, I have this new EP, go check it out. Oh, I have this new song, or I'm gearing towards a rollout. Guys, wake up, come now. I feel like it's a very rushed approach. So what essentially should be happening or could be happening is that, why don't we just have a strategy from early, you know, your premeditation stage, and you're thinking, okay, this is what we need to do for us the next year. Have your publicity plan. How am I going to be interacting every day? Instead of when I have a product, that's when I'm rushing, and then now you start getting that anxiety of, I'm not getting back the same sort of like investment of effort, investment of time, investment of resource that I thought I would get. It's way easier and also just a calming factor when you have a plan every day, you know, like
That you're waking up
yeah,
to.
that you're waking up to, and guys know, they already
Yeah.
know, they're familiar, and that builds that sort of brand affinity.
Yeah.
That natural, watu wanajua what you stand for.
Yeah.
So publicity means, you know, even when I don't have sales or product
Yeah.
every day,
Yeah.
how am I still reminding people, or how am I introducing this to somebody who's just
come across
across
Is this
me,
what you
you know?
mean by kind of like establishment of tone? Is that a thing that publicity can give you?
Yeah.
Like, even if I spend like the next 2 years not releasing any single piece of
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
no merchandise, but like I'm still understood by my audience as kind
Yeah.
of this
and
artist, whatever. Is that how you establish?
yeah, and
tone?
it goes back to what you said.
Yeah.
In that you said something very, very proficient and very profound. You said something along the lines of just having that sort of authenticity,
Yeah.
and that you don't have to deviate.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just be you.
Yeah.
Just be you.
Yeah.
And then your branding team and your publicity team should be able to like find like ways to now present you and work with you to sort of like,
because publicity is really about finding those stories, right?
Yeah.
Those narratives, those touch
Exactly,
points
yeah.
of the brand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it could coincide with a product, but it's not about the product per
Yeah,
se, right?
yeah.
Because it seems to me that the product is an extension of the brand, right? So if
Yeah.
you're like, if your brand is, I don't know, you're this like cutting edge, futuristic, whoever.
yeah,
Some of the things that come out, you're an artist, then you have music that then comes out, but you're not always tied to music, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the music, the brand is bigger than the music.
yeah.
That's a thing I didn't know.
Yeah, you could
That's a
be.
thing I didn't know
yeah,
until
you could
perform.
be. You could be so diverse and dynamic in that. Oh, you know what? I'm this multidisciplinary artist. I'm not just the music. I'm activism. I am fashion. I am ideas. I am events. I am all that. So these are the touch points in which like you can use to sort of like elaborate your message and your tone and your vibe and your sort of like brand language, you know, because there's brand language as well,
100%,
you know?
yeah.
So just having that realization,
Yeah.
these are now how you start like trickling that down into a message,
Yeah.
narratives
Yeah.
every day
Yeah.
that you can share with
Yeah.
your tribe,
Yeah.
first of all,
Yeah.
and then how you start engaging
Yeah.
people who are outside of your
Yeah.
tribe, you know,
Yeah.
people who've just like seen you from somewhere,
Yeah.
but then they're sort of like finding it hard maybe because, you know, they're not engaged or tapped in
Yeah.
completely to
Yeah.
you. Because, you know, maybe they're not actively going to look for you, but
Yeah.
then how do you bring in that person? So that everyday publicity, when it's consistent,
Yeah.
now you find like,
It starts
okay,
to reward.
yeah, it's
you start to build.
yeah.
People start to build an understanding of who you are outside of this
Yeah.
kind of like tactical products. I think if I'm hearing you correctly, I think that's a thing that all artists
Yeah.
should consider. That like right at the beginning, find even if you can't
Yeah.
afford to have it full time, but like.
Yeah.
At the beginning of your year, sit with a brand expert, usually
Yeah.
like good marketers or like a good manager,
Yeah.
and buy a bunch of hours so that you can build out your brand strategy
Very
and
important.
your publicity plan for the year.
For the
you
year.
know,
Yeah.
so that then we're not just
Yeah.
always like. Now
Yeah.
the song is coming out and it's like, oh, I have to do
Yeah, I have
everything,
to
I have to
wake
be
up.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God,
start
now
rushing,
isn't it
yeah.
working? Okay, got you.
Yeah.
I wanna pivot and ask something else. That's,
Yes.
I want you to tell me about crisis, because that's another thing that that we've seen.
Right.
So let's use a good example, which probably a lot of people watching this pod have come across.
Yeah.
But I would say an artist who was in a lot of crisis in the last 2 years would be, you know, Kanye West.
Yeah.
So, you know, Mr. West has all these opinions and all these experiences and wants to, you know, speak. But, you know, at great risk to himself and to his team and, you know, kind of like the way the message is presented.
Yeah.
And so now you have like a business that they've worked on so hard for
Yeah.
years, you know, developing, you know, product lines with Adidas. And he wakes up in the morning and basically he's cancelled
It's
at a
gone.
business level,
Yeah.
you know, before
Yeah.
even it's at a user level.
Yeah.
Does that constitute a crisis? From the outside, I was like, bro, that's a crisis.
Yeah.
What do you think as a
I'd hate to
publicist?
be his publicist at that point. Because, okay, but that's where you earn your coins now. You see what I mean?
Crisis.
Yeah, crisis is where you start. Yeah, that's where like the
Yeah.
money is made now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's just like maybe the financial aspect of it. But I think for Kanye, his brand has been for long sort of like developed through his outspokenness
Yeah.
and his like vocalness,
Yeah.
and you know he's a truth teller. He's very disruptive, aggressive,
Right.
and you know that's his brand. You know, sometimes it works for him. Sometimes it just goes against.
So sometimes
code.
it creates a crisis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you agree that
Yeah.
generally speaking,
Yeah.
that those were is a crisis and a moment?
crisis management is important. You have to be able to. I'm an optimist, first of all. You know? So you have to look at it like an opportunity.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I do agree that there is opportunity in crisis.
Yeah.
But I guess the question I'm asking is, how do you even know you're in a crisis?
Knowing you're in a crisis.
Yeah.
I think things will tell you, like the state of things will just tell
Shit
you.
will
You know,
hit the fan.
like your partners will be calling you and telling you, yo, take that down. Yo, that is not what we signed up for.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Or Diddy waking up and like,
like,
or Diddy Jake's waking up and he's in a Diddy mess.
And
that's a crisis.
That is crisis. Even Elsa Majimbo, like currently, right now, you know, airing out Naomi.
Yeah.
That's a crisis.
Scar going on Twitter and telling us that the solution to femicide is to get married early and having the whole Twitter pile on you. That's a crisis.
Yeah, and
that's a moment of crisis, right? So when your messaging takes a sharp left from your audience. Okay.
It's sort of very discomforting in the eyes of the public.
Yeah.
It's dividing. It's just going down. Shit is going down.
Gotcha.
You know, like, pardon my French, you know. But, you know, things will just alarm you that, you know, things are not going well here. And some sort of like arresting of the situation needs to be done before we lose it all, you know. And those red flags, there's red flags and there's green flags, because there's things when things are going well, but the red flags is when, you know, there's a lot of sort of like unrest, even within the team, you can feel it, you know, that, we've signed contracts, we've signed A, B, C, D, or that is not in alignment with your brand tone.
Got you. You know, you're out of tone.
Yeah. Because, sometimes you just act impulsively, and that's where, like, you know, the code and the brand language has to be established even before you start going out. Because once you go against that, you're starting to allow crisis to come and seep in to the brand and the business. Yeah.
One of the things that, you know, because crisis comes as an area that I was super, can I say naive to?
Yes.
Until we learned about it in the incubator. And one of the core pieces that I took away from crisis comms is that you literally, when you're in crisis, it's very difficult to think. And therefore, you have to have done the work right at the beginning when you are building sort of like your publicity roadmap for the year.
Yeah.
You have to map all your danger points. You know, I remember we did this exercise at perFORM where, you know, we picked a brand and then we did, you know, on a scale of 1 to 5, you know, where 5 is like imminent danger and like 1 is low grade. And to kind of give scenarios, like, you know, we ideated, the whole class just kept like putting ideas and like on the wall, like, where does this sit? You know, is this a thing of imminent danger, or is this a thing that is like low grade, right? Will this have impact on everybody? You know, kind of, it's almost like mapping the risk and like developing what that risk could be.
Yes.
And then, okay, if we're in this level 1, this is what this crisis, this is what this comms could look like, and literal drafts per level of crisis. And I'll tell you, that was one of the most uncomfortable things I have ever done in my life, because it's like, and when we're doing perFORM, we use the example of a festival, Blankets and Wine, for example. And so it was like to write all the things that could be risk, right? Like right from like company documents leaking internally or externally, or Muthoni goes on a pod and, you know, says something, or a kid gets lost at the festival, or, you know, and so it's like, first, for me, what was super uncomfortable was like putting all our fears out there, you know? Because then what our incredible facilitator was saying is that crisis comes as money. It's like now when things have gone sideways, when things go sideways, you don't have bandwidth to think. So you have to have prepped in your head kind of like, what are all the scenarios that could go sideways? You have to have your kind of draft messages, you know, and you know, always being able to acknowledge the situation, being upfront about it, offering the promise of, you know, literally. It was extremely jarring, extremely jarring.
You start to see, you know, looking inwards and evaluation is never easy, because you have to confront all your
your
fears,
fears.
your demons, your sort of like
All the things that could go
insecurities.
wrong. Yeah.
So
And
I
then
think,
making a plan for in case it ever goes wrong.
Crisis management, you have to literally go to the galaxy of galaxies of your brain to find any possible myopic little thing that can go wrong. Yeah, like from just even a food vendor in case of blankets, just writing a bad review on Twitter. Like, you need to have responses to all these things.
In advance so that you don't react emotionally in that moment.
Yes. You want to be proactive.
You want to be proactive about
because the moment it goes reactive, you're kind of like it's
you're dead.
You're already losing.
You're dead.
You're already losing. Yeah. Chances are you're done.
So a crisis comms framework has to be built when you're building
right
your strat at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, like your publicity outcomes are tied to your outcomes of the year. So one of the things we do at perFORM is at the beginning of your year, you build out your WIGs, your wildly important goals. And there are only 3 goals. You can't have more than 3 goals.
Yeah, keeping it simple.
Keep it simple. 3 goals that you're going to work on. Sort of all year, and then each goal can have 2 sub goals, right? And the metric, how do you know that you're achieving? And then you make commitments per quarter. Like this quarter, by the end of the year, let's say you want to, improve, or you want to increase your
visibility.
You want to increase, you want to increase your
streams,
your streams, for example.
Yeah.
So increasing streams maybe would be a sub goal of like increased revenue, right? That could be, right?
Yeah.
So one of your goals is increased revenue, and you're like, okay, so we want to increase our streams by 200%, and maybe we want to increase our work or campaign brands by 50%, right?
Yeah.
Then you break down that goal per quarter. So in this quarter, how many streams do you want to do? The next quarter, right? Then you have your whole year mapped out.
It easily
then now what are your
starts,
publicity outcomes that are meant to help you achieve those goals? I found that it took the panic out.
Yeah, it gives you such a...
But it corporatized the thing as well. And I was like, oh shit, this is like...
Yeah, artists are businesses at the end of the day. You have to really look at it like that. And I think planning is that like an underlying factor that goes without being said a lot, but planning is core to everything. Even when we're doing the publicity plan, and when artists have these sort of like, these are my goals for the year, then that even shapes what type of publicity we're going to do. You know, okay, if your goal is maybe like 3-4 events as an indie artist, because sometimes we also look at it from that perspective of, we're looking at it like I'm an artist who has a label and everything has been done for me, but we also have to consider that a lot of
almost all of us here are in indie situations.
Maybe 90% or 95%.
I would even say 98. I think it's like 2%, maybe 1% of the music industry that's like on like record labels, whether big labels or whether like indigenous labels. Most of us are indie artists in this market.
Yeah, because record labels essentially give you that structure, and they have the personnel. They have it's compartmentalized. Kizungu. It's compartmentalized in that you have a publicity team, you have the marketing team, you have the music team, the radio team. All that is compartmentalized for you. But as an indie artist, you're
the one who's building that whole system.
You have to come through and do the work.
You're the one building that system.
So having those goals outlined, as an artist, you know what you want to do, or you have people who are like drivers for you and help you sort of like shape your outlook for the year in terms of what you want to do. Then as the publicist, we come in and sort of now look at, okay, this is what we have, this is what we're working with. So how do we start building narratives along your action points and your activities for how people can understand you better, learn about you, be entertained by you, because you already have like core people who support you and they're with you day zeros. For them it's more of affirming that tone and affirming what you stand for, your music, but then for sort of like passive people and passive listeners, passive users or consumers in that sense, you have to create narratives for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's very layered,
Yeah.
and creating those sort of like tones, messages, ideas for all these like categories of
Yeah.
of users to you
Yeah.
is what now like publicity means now.
Got you.
You know,
Got you.
whether it's like that picture, that image you put on IG, you know, this one is good for, you know, this
Yeah.
the messaging, even the caption and small little nuance like that. Yeah. And that also comes with the team being threaded together. We all have to be in that unison, that uniformity, you know.
We're all reading off the same page.
Yeah. Because as a
Yeah.
publicist, I have to work with marketing. I have to work with social media. I have to
Yeah.
work with, you know,
Yeah.
then is this within our brand sort of like manifesto? Is it within
Yeah.
our brand lingo?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we're saying one thing, yeah. Because 10 years later, you don't want to be like, yo, you know, guys are crazy now because they'll guys will pull out your tweet from a year back and be like, yo, this is what you were saying, and then this is what you stand for now. Yo.
Yeah.
Got
you.
Yeah, you're capping. Well,
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah.
about what you say.
Yeah.
You are, you know.
Got you.
Yeah.
Can I ask, you know, kind of my almost last question? Is there
Right.
such thing as bad PR? You know, because we hear it all the time. We've had it all the time. I've had it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, yo, no publicity is bad publicity. Even bad publicity
Yeah,
is good
yeah,
publicity.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, So again, going back to say the Kanye scenario. You know, is there such a thing as bad publicity? And can, you know,
Yeah, there's bad publicity, Muthoni. You know this. You know this.
But can bad publicity be flipped into good publicity?
Yeah, now that's where you sort of like, okay, let's not even look at an artist like Ye, for example. Let's say like Shella, this place in Lamu that's like, they've been sort of like noted for racial profiling and stuff like that. How do they turn that into good publicity? You know, sometimes the ship has sunk. The ship is gone. Like, we can't really like salvage that.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Titanic.
like the writing was on the wall. You done did it to yourself, right?
Yeah.
But there's cases where like there's opportunity to sort of like, you look at the nuance because it's case to case basis.
Right.
You know, maybe Shella sometimes, maybe it's true, it's accurate, it's factual that these guys are, you know, I don't know if we can even say them here, you know, but they're racist. They're racially profiling guys. They're discriminating against like black people. Yeah, anyway, like as a black person, you can't go there and have fun. Or there's also like, maybe it could be a case of maybe unfair competition. Another sort of like competitor in Lamu wants to like slander their name or make them look bad, and it's like a smear campaign against them. So they go there and it's like they organize. These are things that happen. So there's always that flip side. There's always opportunity in these things, you know. Like, you can take that, okay, now we're getting this press. You know, we need to like also affirm our position. You know, we need to relinquish our position and tell people what we stand for, who we are. Put out that notice, that press release that, hey, this matter is being handled internally and we're going to be transparent with you guys of what's happening, you know.
What's going down.
Like, and that
But then you have to then do the work. And then you have to keep us updated on the work that you're doing, right?
That transparency is what will now make guys gain some confidence in you again. Otherwise, you're Amanda.
Yeah.
That's
so would you say like in Ye's situation?
Yes. Okay.
So I would say, you know, like I saw Ye's coming to Kenya and my heart was, I was of two minds. I was of two minds immediately. Yeah. You know, and that's when I recognized, I was like, oh, has irreparable damage happened here? Because a few years ago, it should have been like, no questions asked, where am I sending my money?
Yeah.
But when I saw the announcement, I was like, is always going to be, you know, one of the GOATs, you know, like, hands down, like, you know? No cap.
Yep.
But I don't know that I have strong affinity to, that brand. I didn't enjoy,
This is why you're tested. This is why.
Yeah,
this
and I was like,
your moral code
I'm
is-
never gonna like delete the music. I'm always gonna be down to hear some. Yeezy has some of like the best, music ever. Period. And like he's been a game changer. I'll never take away his stripes. I just recognized my own reaction to that announcement. I was kind of like, I'm not certain I'm gonna be there because like I really didn't like that thing.
Yeah.
But also like, I really didn't like the way he kept his ex-wife's name in his mouth. And I really don't like kind of, telling us things about your children that are going on in your family home. I just feel like, so then I started to ask myself this question actually. Is like, is a crisis a moment, or can it actually just be like a continuum? You're just in crisis and you just don't recognize that you're in crisis.
Yeah, that's the thing with Ye. Like, there's no brand awareness almost. Like,
right.
And he's very stubborn because I feel like he's being advised and they're telling him, yo, we need to slow down. We are at eminent level of risk.
Risk.
We are going to crash. Like, bro, we were looking at $1 billion in the account when the year started.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at layoffs.
Yeah.
We're looking at we're crashing out. So you have to be able to have that brand awareness. That's
So as an artist, I have to have that brand awareness.
Yeah.
So basically, you're saying a crisis can extend beyond that specific moment.
It could be perpetual.
Right.
It's
a brand in permanent crisis.
Yeah, domino effect. That's why I said, like, we can't really salvage some things,
Right.
You have to sort of like lay off. It's just like, for example, how does R. Kelly bounce back?
Facts.
How do you bounce back from that?
Facts. That's actually a really good question, because I was saying that to my partner. We're having a conversation like a month ago. And I said, the crazy thing about music is you find music when you find music.
Yeah.
So today there is somebody who has experienced the greatest of Kales musically. This
Or
is the first
Diddy.
time that they're
Or
meeting
Diddy.
it.
Or
And
Diddy.
it's fly.
Yo,
The music is fly,
Kabisa.
right?
Yeah.
But that's not a brand that you can now be like, oh yeah, I love this music. Oh, let me recommend it to somebody, because there's just too much.
There's too much heat. There's flag around it.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of timidness going into that brand because
rightfully so.
he's shot himself in the foot.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, like it's too obvious. There's some things you can't, even as a person at personal level, you can't accommodate certain behaviors and certain values.
Yeah.
If someone is homophobic, someone is like misogynistic.
Yeah.
But the scary part is, like, in Kenya, we've seen brands still endorse guys who've been blatantly, done some wild stuff,
Yeah.
I don't want to call out names, but we know them,
We do.
Yeah, so I think your stuff here, one headline states, like 1 week headline, like somebody gets the heat for a week and then it goes.
Then they're off,
So it's crazy. The application, yes. But you can be to answer your question, you can be in continuous crisis.
I can be in permanent crisis as an artist. And the solution for that is some brand awareness and being willing to like listen to some people.
Yeah.
Got you. So I want us to, I can't believe time has just flown.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We are at the
No
end.
way.
Yeah.
I feel like we just started talking. we're just getting into the meat and potatoes. Huh?
The exchange of
yeah,
knowledge is superior.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe just in conclusion, I wanna ask you to maybe leave us with a thought, for an artist who's watching this pod, for an artist who is for the, encountering this idea of publicity.
Yeah.
It could be an artist who's starting, it could be an established artist who's like kind of looking to reinvigorate their brand. It could be an artist who, maybe has been around and now isn't understood for what they are. I guess maybe I'd just ask, what's a thing that you can leave us reflecting on? Where do we start with this kind of journey of publicity for an artist?
Yeah, I think artists, brands, corporates, organizations, whatever, just invest in yourself. It doesn't have to be monetary even, just invest in yourself.
Okay, so just like figuring out your brand.
Yeah.
Is that the place where we should start?
Yeah.
Before we've even engaged a publicist, before we've even had all those imaginations.
Yeah, just invest in yourself in that, even like just have that self-care and awareness. Yeah, like to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I need help, or I can create help for myself. You know, invest in yourself, like actually do like a self-evaluation, a SWOT analysis of yourself. Then start to invest. Get the right people around you, the right team around you, the right environments for you to be able to think clearly. And people will also point out your blind spots and things of that nature. You know, iron sharpens iron, right? So just it could be it could be by yourself, but you also need to get people around you to invest in yourself. And then, you know, even brands will look at you and be like, this person's already investing in themselves. That's something we can also get behind and support. So just invest in yourself. Get your publicist, get your marketing guys, you know, just start from there. You know, find people who believe in you. It doesn't have to be monetary, you know, just that capacity and that capital of belief. Then that you can go from there.
Got you. I think for me, what I would say is that for any artist, it's never first, there's nothing like it's too late. It's too late when you're in the grave. And even then, you know, if you have good estate management, it's never too late, right? I think for me, it's like start where you are. And recognize that it's a long game. Like publicity is a thing you're going to do your whole life. It's not about like this jump off of this EP or of this song. It's a long game of building your reputation and your trust with your users. And you can start at any point, whether you have a product or not. No,
that's the best place to leave it at, to be honest.
Fantastic.
Like, how do I even add more to that?
Awesome.
You know?
I'm so grateful. Thank you for making time to speak with us at perFORM.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in. perFORM Music Incubator is here to upskill the music industry. We are here to like learn together and just to get good at this. Shout out to every single artist who's grinding every day to make something out of themselves. I assure you, your work is not in vain. Just don't quit. See you in another episode.